Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have my dear friend Katie B, and we are going to be doing a going out party special occasion makeup look. And what we're going to focus on in this video today is how to prep dry skin for makeup, how to flatter a peachy undertone and red hair. So yeah, if you want to learn how to get this makeup look and learn some tips and tricks along the way about dry skin, red hair, and a peachy undertone, then please keep on watching. So Katie's skin is clean, but her skin is a little bit dry. So the first thing we're going to do is prep with some skincare and a hydrating primer. So before I go in with moisturizer, I'm going to use a facial oil. If you're oilier combination, you want to use a facial oil at night. If you're dry, you can definitely use a facial oil during the day. I'm going to use the Body Shop Oils of Life Intensely Revitalizing Facial Oil. So I'm just taking 1, 2, 3 drops, and I'm going to just massage that into Katie's skin. So the moisturizer I'm actually going to use today is the Philosophy Hope in a Jar. This is their like original moisturizer, but it's really good for dry skin. And I'm just gonna massage that into the skin. While an oil can be super hydrating on the skin, I find that a moisturizer will actually soften and make your skin look smoother. So I like to go in with the oil first because that allows the oil to penetrate your pores, and then the moisturizer will lock everything in and soften the top layer of skin. So we're just gonna let that sink in for like 30 seconds and then we're gonna follow up with a hydrating primer. So for primer, we're going to use one of my favorites. It is the NYX Honey Do Me Up primer. I just really like the way the makeup sits on top of this primer. It's super hydrating. I'm basically just kind of patting it and pressing it into the skin. Okay, now for dry skin, I normally recommend going with a hydrating foundation. I just only really have like pure pigments in my kit. So I'm just gonna use this Graftobian HD cream color palette in Cool Number 1. If you have a peachy skin tone, you want to look for foundations that are like cool or maybe neutral. Because these are so pigmented and a little bit thick, and because your skin is a little bit dry, I'm just going to apply a little bit of product and then blend it out with a dampened sponge. And as I go along, I'm going to spray the sponge with a hydrating face mist, and this is the Body Shop Vitamin C Energizing Face Spritz. So we're gonna combine the two lightest shades. I'm just gonna focus the lightest shade in the center of the face and then use the second lightest shade on the outer perimeter of the face. So I already dampened, this is the Real Technique sponge. I only recommend this sponge or the Beauty Blender sponge. So I dampened this, you're supposed to use it damp and then wring it out. In addition to that, because Katie has dry skin, we are using the face spritz. So I'm just using the back end of that sponge and just dabbing over this. And because the sponge is moist, because the sponge is moist, it's gonna help to move around that product and blend it into the skin seamlessly. A brush will give you better coverage, which can be good for going out, but because this foundation, well, it's basically just like cream pigments. Because it's so pigmented and full coverage in the first place, I really like this technique, especially for dry skin. I use this technique for mature skin as well. So for color correcting, I'm gonna use, as always, the Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid in the shade Peach. I'm just gonna take a little bit of this on the back of my hand and dab it underneath Katie's eyes with the tapered end of the Real Techniques sponge. And then covering that up with a little bit of cream that matches her skin tone. So I was having this conversation with Katie before we started filming, and it's really hard to figure out what sorts of colors, eyeshadow wise, look good on redheads and people with really fair skin tones, or like a fair peachy skin tone. And you were saying that people told you to avoid orange as a redhead. Yeah, which I think is interesting because I think that warm colors can actually look really good if they're blended correctly. But I do kind of agree that if you just kind of slap orange on your eye, it can make you look washed out. So we're probably gonna go with more of like a neutral look. Because here's the thing, like you wanna go with colors that cohere with your undertone because they're going to be more flattering, but then like colors that are the opposite will also provide a nice contrast because they're complementary. So it's kind of just like my opinion on color theory and undertones is like if anything is properly blended and coheres with the rest of the look, then you can use that color. But I think based on like what Katie's wearing today and something that will give a nice contrast to her hair but also cohere with her undertone would be like some burgundies. So we're gonna stick to the burgundy family today. Yes.
Not brown burgundy.
So now we're gonna set with a little bit of powder. For dry skin, I like using a really finely milled powder, maybe even like a finishing powder, but the foundation and everything we use is very moisturizing, so I want to set with a powder basically. So I'm gonna use the NARS Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder Loose. It doesn't really do a great job of setting my makeup. On me, it's more of a finishing powder. On dry skin, it'll kind of do both because it is mattifying, but it's so finely milled that it's not gonna look cakey on your skin. So I'm going to set the face using the e.l.f. Complexion Brush, and I'm going to set under the eyes using the Real Techniques setting brush. I'm gonna pat out any creasing. Close your eyes, get in the inner corner. And now that I've set everything, I'm just really lightly sweeping away any excess powder. Now what we're going to do is bronze up the face just a little bit. For fair skin, or cool toned skin rather, I don't recommend using anything too warm. By too warm, I mean with like a lot of yellow or orange in it. So this is Benefit Hoola. This has, they claim that it's super neutral, but I actually think it's like very warm. I don't know if you can tell on camera how much orange that has in it. It looks great on my skin tone because I have a golden undertone. But this is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. This one is a similar deal, but it's slightly less orange and slightly more neutral. So this would still work. I don't know if you can tell on camera. Yeah, you can definitely tell. It's got some yellow in it, but it's not as orange. So this would work as a matte bronzer, but because Katie is a little bit dry, I'm going to go with something a little more glowy, and I'm going to use an Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. I'm not using the bronzer. Those are like pretty warm. I'm using one of the ambient lighting powders in Dim Light. I'm taking it from the palette, but this is sold individually. I'm taking this one right here, and I'll show you guys a swatch. This works really good as a like pale girl bronzer.
Pale girl.
Yes, ma'am. See how it's even got like a peachy undertone to it? So I'm going to pick some of that lighting powder up on a Sephora Pro Featherweight blending. So I'm just going from the top of the ear down the cheekbone a little bit. And I'm just going to do this across the top of the forehead a little bit and a little bit on the temples. Nothing major. Normally I do blush after the eyes, but I kind of like know where this look is going, so we can always add more if we want to, but I'm using the Too Faced blush in Baby Love. I really love this blush for myself. If you have a pale to medium skin tone, it doesn't really matter what your undertone is. This blush will look good on you because it's got enough pink and enough brown and enough peach in it that it will flatter a really wide variety of fair skin tones. I'm just going to pop it on here, kind of where we ended the bronzer, and sweep it back into the bronzer with the same brush. Now we're going to do the eyebrows. I don't really have like a brow product for redheads at the moment, so we're just going to use an eyeshadow, but generally if you have like orange or red hair, you want to go with something that's labeled like caramel or something like that. So we're just going to use a Makeup Geek eyeshadow. So I'm going to take this Tarte angled brow brush. It comes with their brow mousse, but you can use any angled brush in a spoolie. And I'm just going to take Makeup Geek Creme Brûlée. It's like a warm brown. I never stand up in my videos because I'm like too tall, but I'm just gonna try it and see how it works. So, is this working? So I'm just going to do the brows as I do. So I'm just dusting creme brulee through the brows with this angled brush and just combing through everything. So I'm just going to use Makeup Geek Mocha, this like cool tone brown on the outer corner of Katie's brows, and I'm just gonna brush a little bit of that through the front portion of her brows just to like add texture. And this is a really dark color, so I'm not gonna put too much, but the undertone of it is really good for Katie's brows. Next, we're gonna do the eyes. I'm gonna start off by priming with the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in Eden. This is the matte formula. I just like it because it's like more tinted. Look at me. I'm blending, close your eyes. I'm blending this out with my ring finger because the ring finger applies the least amount of pressure. And then I'm going to use the Real Techniques Bold Metals 203 brush. I've used this brush in a past video. It's just like a really small but fluffy brush. So because Katie doesn't have a ton of brow bone space, this is going to be a good blending brush as opposed to something that I normally use for my big bug eyes, which is like the Inglot 6SS, which is just like kind of too wide. So we're just gonna use this. And we are going to start with a warm brown color. Despite what everyone says about orange hair, I do think an orangey brown will make a good transition shade for your skin tone. And we are going to use Makeup Geek Creme Brulee. So Katie is looking down into a mirror right now, so basically I can see what her eye looks like when it's open, but I can also see her crease. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is build up a little bit of depth in the crease in the outer corner with a burgundy shade. And we are going to use the Inglot 10S blending brush. This is a very small, very like thin crease brush. And should we use Wet n Wild or Makeup Geek? Let's use Makeup Geek. Okay, I like matte shadows, especially for like smaller eyelids. I feel like sparkly shadows can just kind of get all over the place. Anyway, we're gonna use Makeup Geek's Bitten, this one right here. And I'm just gonna concentrate this on the outer corner and inner crease. First I'm patting on the color, and then I'm slowly, with sweeping motions, bringing it into the crease. And then just taking that Real Techniques Bold Metals 203 again and blending out over the edge of that. And since this is going out makeup, I actually want to put something a little bit deeper on the lid than like my normal brightening shade. So I'm going to use Cashmere Bunny from the Too Faced Natural Matte Palette. It's kind of just like a mid-toned gray. And I do think that grays, if you know, not blended out with some warm colors, can look kind of like sickly and tiring on your complexion. Since we framed the eye with warm tones, I think it's gonna work out really well. And I'm just gonna use this on a flat shader brush and put this all over the lid. And I'm basically filling in everything but the inner corner. We are gonna use a little bit of shimmer on the inner corner. Okay, now I'm just gonna clean off that shader brush a little bit, and then I'm going to pick up some of the Balm's No Money No Honey. This is their Overshadow Sex Pot, and No Money No Honey is the shade. This is a beautiful, really shimmery, dimensional pigment. I'm just going to tap some of that into the lid, pick it up with the brush, and then I'm going to spray the brush. I kind of like to spray it after. Spraying the brush first can help to pick up the product, but I don't know. I just like this because I feel like I'm not getting any of the spray, any of the liquid into the product itself. And then I'm just going to pat that on the inner corner and bring it slightly onto the lid. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of the product dry on top of that. Now we're gonna do a little bit of liquid liner. For this, I am using the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in Trooper. So Katie does have adequate lid space, but I'm going to still keep the liner really thin. We're just gonna tight line using the Marc Jacobs Highliner Crayon in Blaquer. We're just going to do the lower waterline as well. And you can use a brown for this, but I think that in photographs, black just defines the eyes so much better. Whereas brown, if like your eyes aren't filled, if your waterline isn't filled in correctly, can just make you look kind of tired. And then I'm going to take this flat definer brush by NARS. It's clean, it's just a little bit stained, I swear. And then we're going to take Makeup Geek Bitten, that burgundy shade, one more time and just smoke out the bottom liner with that. So I actually want that to look a little bit smokier, so we're going to take a little bit of a matte black and smoke out the bottom lash line even more. And I'm keeping the matte black more on the outer corner. And now I'm just going to do mascara and lashes off camera. For lashes, since Katie's eyes are a little bit on the smaller side, we're going to use something with a really flexible lash band and that isn't too long. I'm using the Ardel Glamour 130. I'm using the Ardel Glamour 135s. So I popped the lashes on, and then we decided that it actually was a little too demure, so we popped on some individual lashes. I used the Ardel Individuals, and I just put like 3 or 4 extra per eye, and then did bottom mascara as well. So now we're going to do lips. Oh, I also forgot to point this out before. Burgundies for green eyes and for blue eyes are gonna really make your eye color stand out because they're opposite on the color wheel. So lots of redheads have like green or blue eyes, so that's just like another reason to use burgundies and reds on the lid. So now the next thing we're going to do is lips, and we're gonna do like an ombre lip. I want it to be dark on the outside and a little bit lighter on the inside. So I am going to use the Too Faced Melted Matte Liquified Matte Lipstick in the shade Drop Dead Red, and this is going to go on the, this is going to go on the outer part, and then I'm going to use NARS Cruella in the center, and I'm just going to blend these two together. And I'm just gonna work from the back of my hand just for sanitary purposes, but also when you're blending and working with a brush and you don't want to kind of cross-contaminate, it's good to work from the back of your hand anyway when you're doing an ombre lip. Also, liquid lipsticks and matte lipsticks are going to be really long wearing, so if you're going out, you're going to be eating, it's good to use matte lipsticks. So now I'm just going to go in with the NARS Velvet Matte Lip Pencil in Cruella before the Too Faced one dries too quick, and just pop that in the center, and then I'm just going to use my finger and the brush to blend it all out. So yeah, that is the finished look. How do you feel, Katie?
I love it. Absolutely.
Yay! So hopefully you guys learned something about how to prep dry skin for makeup, how to keep everything nice and flattering for a peachy undertone or for red hair. If there's anything that you feel like I left out in this video, please leave it down in the comments below and I will answer your questions in a following video. And yeah, if you want to see more of my friends, get the experience of like different skin tones, different skin types, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I upload every Monday and Thursday. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
I just like to use it before my the base of this